And Richie Wood has done it again! The magic man has come up with another trick! Well, here's a chance to seal it! It's done! It's Georgie Kelly! Rotherham United's pathway back to the Championship is opening up!
Hello, everybody. Hello, welcome again to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. Thank you all for being with us. No game to review, which is strange on a Sunday. I don't like it. But we have a game to look forward to on Monday evening, the big one live on Sky. Swansea City and the nation can't wait for it all to get kicking off in Swansea on Monday. So we'll go through all that and we'll look back at on Saturday's results because they were just about perfect, to be honest with you. Went as well as I could do there. So let's go through all it. Mick is with us. How are you doing, Mick?
All good, mate. Thank you. You?
Yes, very good. Very, very good. And Tom Airsbeck with us. How are you doing, Tom?
I'm good. Feeling good to be back on. Should be fun.
Good to have you with us. Very good. Even Josh was with us, Sarah Ogden, Damon Coward says, good evening, guys. Saturday's results were spot on. Need to make the most of Monday. Football Man says need to capitalise tomorrow, and that will take us to a lovely gap. Yes, it will. Josh England will be taking us to 18th. Palmer's with us, as well as Shelley. Dave Lawton says, a very good evening, one and all. An easy 3 points tomorrow. That's catching on that. Easy 3 points. And we have Soren France from Australia on their way to work. Loving the podcast and loving following this roller coaster season. Just another year in Rotherham United. That's what we do. Let's start with yesterday's results, Tom. The 4 teams below us lost. 4 teams above us lost. As far as Saturdays go, other than the fact we didn't play, it was as good as we possibly could have wished for.
Yeah. I mean, it gets to a point in the season now where you got to think it doesn't really matter what teams around you kind of do because this stuff happens. If we don't win and then we look and everyone around us has won, it doesn't matter because this stuff always happens. You know, you can go on 3-game winning run and a 3-game losing run, and it completely changes like that. If it's something like if we beat Swansea tomorrow, we go 3 points behind them, and at some point they were challenging for the playoffs. Reading seemed to be pretty further up, and if we would have beaten them, we would have been a point behind them. So it's so tight at the bottom that whatever other clubs do shouldn't really matter. It should just be focused on what you guys can do. But having said that, it obviously is very, very. It should bring more confidence to the team that look, we need to go out there tomorrow and win. We shouldn't look for the draw. We should be looking for the win.
Yeah, I agree. But do you think it puts pressure on Mick? Obviously, in the Championship, you normally play roughly at the same time. Obviously, the Premier League it's different because everybody plays at different times, and this is a regular thing. Your rivals can play at different times. In the Championship, we're not really used to it. Do you think that adds pressure to say, right, if we win this game, we are in an amazing position. If we don't win the game, let's say we lose the game, oh my God, we've wasted such an amazing opportunity to be so far clear. Or is it just it's Swansea? Let's just focus on Swansea.
Well, I think the noises coming out of the club will be exactly that. We'll just focusing on the game and not the circumstances surrounding it. But I mean, you'd be daft not to look at the fact that it's a very, very good opportunity. But as has just been mentioned, we're Rotherham United. It's a roller coaster. Why would we go and win? Why would we make it easy for ourselves? I mean, you know, I don't know what odds you would have got on a 9-fold ACCA for all 9, the bottom 9 teams in the division to lose. Hopefully somebody's put it on, and hopefully we screw their ACCA up. But you know, like I'm sure you were about to say this at some stage, but it will be very Rotherham United for us to go and lose tomorrow night without a shadow. But it's a good opportunity. But whether it adds any more pressure into the mix, probably not really. Because as Tom says, you know, you've just got to win your own games and not really concentrate on the teams around you or not necessarily, certainly not when you're playing, because you know they are going to win some, they're going to lose some. Hopefully they'll lose more than they win, and you know we end up being safe. But yeah, I can see us going there tomorrow and making 9 out of 9.
Yeah, it can happen. This, to be fair though, Tom, this football is strange. Like you had days in promotion where you have 3 teams going for promotion, and then all 3 lose on one weekend. And same with relegation. You'll all be fighting for wins, and then suddenly you'll all win at the same time. So it would just be football for all 9 to lose, and just typical.
Yeah, no, it would, but hopefully we can stop the trend. That's all you can really hope for. Because I think tomorrow it would have been a big game anyway. Swansea down there with us, and no matter the team's winning or not, it's a huge game. But this should give them confidence that look, this is all Taylor should say to them. Look, if you win this, you're so much better off than every other team in these 9 places. So that's they just got to play with some confidence now. I guess that's the only thing that you can really ask them to do, because we've definitely got the capabilities to beat Swansea. I believe anyway.
Yeah, big time. Chill's score, I think, Stone sums up pretty well. If we don't win, we are no worse off than we were. We'll still be 5 points away, and there's 1 game less. There's 1 game less in the season, and we're in a good position. We're not chasing somebody else and running out of time. So, don't get me wrong. I suspect if we lose tomorrow 1-0, we'll be absolute meltdown on the RUFC hashtag on Twitter. I expect nothing less from you, Paul, on Twitter. That's what I expect. But yeah, would it be just amazing to be 8 points clear? We'd go above Birmingham, wouldn't we? We'd go for 8 above Birmingham, a point off Stoke,
level with QPR. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but we've got next week.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you see also? This is not related to tomorrow, but QPR lost, and Elias Chair came off injured. He's their most creative player, and we play them next. So it could be an even better. Could have been an even better side depending on his the outcome of his injury. But yeah, perfect Saturday afternoon for us. Rarely have a Saturday that's not ruined by Rotherham United. So it's nice to have one ruined. Nice change. Let's just get the referee stuff out of the way, mate. We've already talked about this in the last podcast, but like I said, it is the dream team. Gavin Ward refereeing, Mr. Keith Stroud as the 4th official. Matt Taylor said Paul Davis released an article today about the football club. I've asked for some clarity on the decision from the Coventry game, particularly from Mr. Stroud. He's clearly not happy, Matt Taylor, in the decisions in general. His tone was very negative. Hopefully the 4th official doesn't have an impact, but we've still got the potential of Gavin Ward being on telly, and who knows what he's going to do.
Well, yeah, we don't have a lot of success down at Swansea with referees, do we? Let's be fair. A la Keith Stroud with a handball that sent us, contributed to sending us down a few seasons ago. The fantastic save by the defender on the line that cost us 3 points a couple of seasons ago as well.
1 point.
Say again?
Just 1 point. We were losing, weren't we?
Sorry, apologies. Well, cost us a point either way, which would have kept us up. Just saying, So yeah, we don't have a lot of success down there, do we? The worry for me is Keith Stroud being 4th official. He's not going to get any airtime, is he? He's not going to get any time. So if they don't, if there's not a massive barrage of substitutions, then he's going to have to find somewhere getting some attention to him, isn't he? So yeah, I mean, listen, I know it's taking Mick a little bit, but you look over Twitter this weekend. Did he not referee the Sheffield United game? I think
he did referee the Sheffield United game, yeah.
And had a bit of a mare again, which is not really a surprise, is it?
No, he's not a good referee.
I don't know. There needs to be some sort of sanctions against these officials who don't do the job properly, week in, week out. You can forgive mistakes. Obviously, they're going to be made. That's inevitable, given the nature of the game, given the rules that they're supposed to work within, which are just.
Well, having said that, have you read the Paul Davis article from earlier?
I haven't, no.
So Matt Taylor talked about the Keith Stroud not giving the penalty on Ben Wiles at Sheffield United. If you cast your minds back, he talked that they did receive, because what they've asked for is communication on the disallowed goal at Coventry. They asked for clarification on the Sheffield United not getting a penalty against Ben Wiles, and the PGMOL said that was the correct decision at the time. Now, I don't know what's worse. I don't know whether it's worse saying, yeah, we got it wrong and I'm sorry, or whether just doubling down is worse. Well, worth pointing out that there has been a change of management at the PGA well since then. Yeah. That is worth pointing out.
It's akin to the discussion we had about the foul given on Victor against Sunderland. You know, you're having a conversation on social media with people or watching the same video as you, which is so blatantly obvious what it is, what's happening in there. That you know what I mean? It's so obvious, and yet somebody's coming along and telling you something completely opposite. And that's, but when it comes from a body like the PGMOL, you can see it yourself, and yet they're telling us that what we're seeing didn't actually happen. Despite the fact it's there on video for everybody else to see, it's mind blowing, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyway.
And what it smacks of an organisation, whether it be them or the FA or EFL or whoever, looking after their own, and not having the balls to take responsibility and say, yeah, all right, we're a mistake. Mistakes happen. Yeah, people get fed up about it, but you know what I mean? You get far more respect by saying, I buggered up there, made a mess, sorry, got it wrong. You get more respect than saying, no, what you're watching now didn't actually happen.
Yeah. And in fairness, again, not trying to blow too much smoke up Howard, but since Howard's took over, there's already been accountability for mistakes happening in the Premier League, which is what we want to see. We don't want to see people losing their jobs necessarily, but there needs to be accountability and making sure mistakes don't happen again. So hopefully that continues. We don't have VAR to worry about, I suppose, though. No. Anyway.
Yes.
Shelley IFC says, fair play to anybody who travels down. By the way, it would need 2 days off work for £32.50 a ticket, plus being live on Sky on a Monday. Yeah, before we start getting to the proper game, Tom, anybody who goes down there deserves a medal and a mental health check, because I love every single one of them that's doing it, but I can't think of a reason I would do it on a Monday night for that cost.
No. That's a straightforward answer. I can't fathom it either. I mean, like you're saying, 2 days off work, £32 a ticket, which is in itself extortionate. Yeah, and live on Sky, so fair play. That's what you can say. Fair play.
Yeah, I can't see they sell out from Swansea end either.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, let's hope that the performance warrants the cost out of both the time and the actual finance.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that be one of the things. I assume Matt Taylor will say, you know, these guys have, like I said, if they've not given up 2 days off work, the Tuesday they turn up for work, they'll be not much good, having had no sleep.
Yes.
Forked out a fortune in petrol and ticket money and everything else. So yeah, a massive heap of respect to all you that are making the trip on Monday night. You are heroes, every single one of you. Matt Miller just come back on the referee, says Keith Stroud, love him or loathe him, has been a football league referee for 18 years. Would he have been allowed to ref that length of time if he was a clown or incompetent? You don't want my answer. I was Mike.
Say again, sorry.
I don't think he wants my answer from that, because
the issue runs a lot deeper than that, and we could go on and on about it. But one of the issues with that is the lack of competent referees. You know, the lack of let me rephrase that. The lack of people coming through the system because people don't want to do it, because of all the stick that they get and the grief they get from idiots like me. However, as far as Stroud is concerned, and there are the odd one or two other names that spring to mind over the years that have been referees for 18 years plus and probably more. Trevor Kettle, obviously, is another one. Who consistently caught controversy by making decisions that are clearly wrong week in, week out. And it gets to a situation where it becomes clearly more than a mistake, and it is either one, incompetence, or two, not understanding the laws of the game, or not understanding how they are meant to be implemented this week, depending on what directives they've been given. So I know where Mike's coming from, and I do understand what he's saying, and like he said before, calling him a clown and everything else is just it is a bit petty and juvenile. But I do question his competence. There's no question about that, because it's every week, literally every week, that something else happens, and it's
not just us, is it? It's not just a Rotherham United thing.
No, and it's a small cohort of referees that kind of seem to fall within that category. So I think it is about competence. Genuinely, I do, in my view. But it's there because it probably can't get anybody else.
Yeah. What I would also say, also caveat that, add to that is, Gavin Ward's come up with a lot of stick on this podcast, a lot of stick.
Yes.
But since the end of last season, I haven't really heard his name from other football clubs. He's not a name that comes up or to memory. We go, oh, Gavin Ward. We've had Gavin Ward today, and he's a useless referee. He seems, and I'm touching all the wood I can find, he seems to have improved his game from the Barnsley game and the other games like that. Now, he may have an absolute stinker on Monday night, but if he has improved his game, perfect. That's exactly what we want, because he was responsible for several howls, not just Rotherham United. So hopefully, that is a positive step. I may be wrong. We have to wait and see. Well, let's move on from refereeing.
Well, actually, can I make a point? Did anyone see the Wigan Preston game, or the that's all I gotta say. Yeah, it's not just it's a complete It was pathetic. It was really, really pathetic, and Wigan, they deserve to win that as well. So it's even worse. It was, who was it?
I think the referee was David Webb, or was it Bramall?
It was Thomas Bramall, I think. Let me double check.
It was, yeah. No, David Webb. David Webb was somebody else who messed up this weekend.
The issue with that. Sorry, Tom. Go on.
No. I was just going to say, it happens. It's not just Stroud. It's not just Ward. It's all of them, and it's something that. And the Birmingham Luton game as well. Jay's just put in the chat that was horrendous tackle. It's been a really bad week. Yeah, it's been a really bad weekend for football officiating, and it just proves that. Yes, maybe saying that they're clowns and incompetent is maybe taking it a step too far, but there's clearly something wrong when so many decisions in one day are that bad. It's confusing how they've not had a big reshuffle or a big meeting about it and just say, look, you've got to just not even do the best you can, do the basics right. If there's a definite foul, give it. If it's not, just try and stay out the limelight. There's something clearly very wrong at the EFL, and Howard Webb's got a big job.
I think the issue, I know we'll move on from this shortly. I know because we've talked about the teams and what have you. I can see why the referee's given the Wigan one from where he is. I mean, it's not a penalty. It's not even a foul. It's just a clear dive. However, because of the positioning of the referee, he's got no choice. But ultimately, the reason those things happen is because referees do not deal with diving. They don't deal with it. They'll watch it and they'll just not give the free kick. Instead of blowing up, unless you're Chio in penalty area, unless you're Chio, they won't blow up, book the player for diving. That's what needs to be done. So the refereeing, the PGMOL are kind of complicit in this cheating issue, this diving issue, because they won't deal with it and they won't deal with it effectively. So that's that Wigan one. I can see why he's giving it, but the player cheated. He dived, and he should be called out for it publicly. They should be embarrassed for it. And the Birmingham one, the referee's got a player in between him and the tackle.
There must be one of those officials, though.
Yeah.
Poor, but that's where we are. Right, so moving on to Swansea. Phil Rollins says he has only been to Swansea once, and that was for the infamous once and only relegation playoffs. I think in the 80s that was, or maybe early 90s. He's in no rush to go back again, especially not on a Monday night. Yeah, I don't blame him. Do you remember those relegation playoffs?
Vaguely. I think it was, like Phil said there, when it just one season, and do they not still have them in Scotland?
You do have it in Scotland, yeah, part of their playoff system, yeah.
Not great. Not great at all. I mean, the playoffs for promotion obviously are fantastic and have been a great addition to football. But for relegation, that's just no. No, I'm not keen on that at all. Not at all.
No, I agree. Let's move on to Rotherham United. Football Mad says, looks like Hall is out. One step forward, two steps back. Yeah, it's the way. I think they're waiting for a scan early in the coming week. But it sounds like Grant Hall has done his hamstring. Significant damage, I think was the phrase, Mick, from Matt Taylor. That's a blow.
Yeah.
But it adds, it just backs up the business we did in January because we needed backup. We needed players there. You know, if we hadn't brought in Bailey Wright in, then we'd be in serious trouble in terms of depth. But we got Bailey Wright to step up, and from what we've seen so far, he seems competent, very competent.
Yeah, absolutely. He ought to be. He's well experienced at this level, isn't he? And former international. So, you know, it should be. And we've got Richard Wood in there as well, who, for me, should now step up onto the bench. I can't see any reason why he wouldn't, but we'll have to wait and see on that one, won't we? So yeah, it's not great. It's not great for Grant Hall, but you know, his Rotherham career, such as it's been this season, has been plagued with injury, hasn't it? I don't know what he was like at Middlesbrough, whether that was an issue, whether injuries were an issue there as well, or indeed what his career's been like. But certainly since he came to us, it's been sort of 2 games in, 4 out, hasn't it? So I'm not massively concerned because I think Bailey Wright is as good. Hopefully he's not prone to quite so many mistakes as Grant Hall is, but he has been fantastic. I can't deny that, you know. So, but hopefully it's just a case of next man up.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bailey Wright seems a bit more old school than Grant Hall. Grant Hall tried to play ball a little bit. That game against Reading, Bailey Wright just seemed a bit of an old school. I mean, he was up against Andy Carroll, so maybe that's why it looked like it. Are you worried, Tom, or are you just from what we've seen? We're not seeing much of Bailey Wright, have we? I suppose to say for certain. Yeah. How do you feel about the whole injury?
Well, as that comment just said from Jay, he's probably maybe top end Championship if he's fit for the whole season. I really like him. I think he's been Humphreys has been our best defender this season, I reckon. But I think Hall is a close second, if not joint with him. Them two together have been phenomenal, and we hardly look like any defensive issues. But the thing is that he's always injured, and come the end of the season, it seems like he's out of contract at Borough. Would we sign him? Would I be happy if we signed him? It's tough to say, but at this point in time, probably not, because he's just going to be a sort of Clark Robertson player. Whenever he plays, it's like great. He's a good defender, competent defender, but majority of the season he's not playing. You know, it's one game playing, 4 games off, or whatever it is, and yeah, it's a big blow for him as well, because he was coming back in, you know, confidence wise and stuff. But now he's 30, bearing on 31, and getting all these injuries. Where does his career go from here if he's released from Borough? It's a shame for him, really. But if it's a constant injury issue, then he's got to get it properly sorted before anyone can really come in for him. So you'll have to see with that in regards to that. Yeah,
definitely. Just to cross this one, Football Mad says, don't know how true it is, but seen a mention of a major bust up between Woody and Taylor. Apparently Woody hasn't attended games. I don't know about the bust up, but Woody has definitely been at games. Because I said that because Mick followed him out at stadium once in his car, so we know Woody's definitely been there.
I'm not stalking him.
Well,
in front of me.
Be careful, Woody. That's all I'm saying. Shellstone, I mentioned it. Taylor mentioned we also have Woody, so I'd expect he could be on the bench tomorrow. It could be Mick, but we didn't have Bailey Wright. He wasn't available on Tuesday, so he put Wes on bench. Wes came on and didn't have the best 10 minutes, but then was fine. So it's no guarantee that we'll see Woody. I would like to see Woody on the bench, but it's no guarantee, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. We've got quite a lot of strength in depth back there, but obviously having 2 of your kind of, you would arguably starting centre halves in Morrison and Hall out, then yeah, it starts to make a big dent in that depth, doesn't it? But we're all right at the moment. another major injury, and that could cause us some problems, But we've still got players that can play in there, i.e. Wes and Odoffin and Wood. Whilst certainly Wes and Odoffin would be a kind of spanner in them in, wouldn't it? They can do the job. So hopefully it won't come to that. Bailey Wright will see the season out if Grant Hall's not going to be back.
Yeah. No, will definitely. Moving on to sort of the forward, Jamie says, would you start Jamie Lindsay? Shelley on the IUC says, yes, Shelley thinks he would. He played very well on Tuesday when he came on. The question is, based on that game, who would you drop? And that's sort of the thing, Tom, because you're not going to drop Rathbone because it's only Rathbone. You're not going to drop kind of Coventry because nobody else sort of does that sitting role that he does. Your only other real man in midfield was Foster, was like a really far forward, but still part of that midfield.
Yeah,
Jamie Lindsay doesn't get in, but I hope he's still on the bench, I suppose, is where I'm sitting on the Lindsay question.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, the games where he wasn't on the bench, I think everyone thought it was a bit odd because he's the only real like-for-like replacement for Rathbone, and clearly Rathbone's not fully fit. He keeps coming off with slight injuries, nothing too serious though. But I'd absolutely put him on the bench, but I can't see him starting unless there's injuries, because he's not as good as Rathbone is at the minute, and that's purely down to form and just how. And Rathbone is the captain, like you're saying, he doesn't do the same job as Coventry, so I wouldn't change that really unless he's looking for a different change in system or something. And I thought Foster was our best player against Sunderland, especially in that central role. So I can't see him dropping Fosu for him. So unfortunately for Lindsay, he's just not quite got the form and the just opportunity as he probably would have liked to, and probably fans would have liked to as well. But that's not to say that when he doesn't come on, when he comes on, he puts in a shift, absolutely. So I'd still leave with that, just putting him on last 20-25 minutes and shoring it up a bit more, because he was obviously very good on Tuesday. And just hope he's on the bench.
Yeah, hope so. Let's look, just quick mention on our opposition, Swansea. Quite hit and miss this season. It's one win in about 6 or 7. They did go on a spell this season where they won 4 in a row, beating West Brom, Watford and Sunderland in that 4-game spell. They also beat Watford 4-0 at home also again earlier at the end of last year. But they've also been on another horrific run of form. They've got a very set way of playing, and that's possibly why they're quite good against certain teams like Double or Watford, beating other teams, because they are very sort of set in their way. Historically, that's been quite a good way for us to get at teams. You look at MK Dons last season away, certainly, and other teams that have tried to sort of pass around the back in the Championship. That's what we've sort of looked forward to, because we now get the high press and whatnot. We don't really know how Matt Taylor's going to come up against that, because he hasn't come up against a sort of a passing team yet, really, has he?
Not really. I mean, Watford tried it, didn't they? And we were very high press in that Watford game. So hopefully he's going to employ similar sort of tactics. That clearly is the way to get at teams like Swansea, because at teams like Swansea, hey, look at me. It's clear, because they are, as you quite rightly point out, they appear to be completely set in their ways. This is how we play. That's that. We're not going to change it. And I think their manager's coming under some pressure now because of their league position. They certainly anticipated challenging for the playoffs, if not automatics, at the beginning of this season. And you would think when they came down to New York, obviously the first game of the season, the way that they knocked the ball about, they looked like a quality side. But it was clear even then that the lack of penetration was just sort of obvious for all to see. They were great at tapping it about, but they just really didn't make any impression. So, whether their results, the positive results, have come against teams who sort of play a similar way to them. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. They might play us off the park on Monday night and bang 5s past us or they might just play it across back four for 90 minutes and get 95% possession and an extra point for that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, they should not be where they are in this division with the quality that they've got in their side. But if you can't put Wallet back at net, you ain't going to be going anywhere, are you? So
no, yeah. When you look at the game at our place, they scored from a stunner. They weren't going to score any other way, were they? It took a ridiculous goal. Their sort of wider run is 3 wins in 16 games. Like I said, one's against Watford. They also beat Sunderland away, and they beat Blackpool at home. More recently, that was their only win in their last 5 games. John Morell, the Birmingham fan, mentions here they were brilliant in the first half against Birmingham, as good as anything in the division, but the second half, they were as bad as Sunderland, which Swansea went on to lose 4-3 extremely late on in the game. So I suppose from that point of view, Tom, what you're saying is they've got a bit of a soft belly, so sort of stay in the game, really. You can't actually push them from minute one, but if you stay close to them, stay in the game, and put a bit of pressure on at the right time, they very well may fold.
Yeah, no, they're definitely a team that if you're chasing the game against them, they'd love that. They'd love passing it around, frustrating you. That kind of style of play, but and they do that very well. But yeah, like you're saying, as long as you keep in the game, there's always a chance to catch any team in this division on the break, especially with how quick some of our forwards are and how explosive some of them are. Especially considering how poor Swansea seem to be at the back. They seem to ship in a lot of goals in games. It seems like their heads drop really quickly. So as soon as you stay in the game, frustrate them, then you've always got a chance. You've always got a chance against any team in the division, but Swansea seem to be one of those where, like you said, kind of a soft belly. But to be honest, remembering the game at our place, it was very much a case of they had all the ball, did absolutely nothing with it, and it took a screamer to get a point. And if you I think before the game, a lot of us would have taken that, but having after the game, you just thought they weren't that great. Yeah, they could pass the ball. Yeah, they could keep the ball, but that's about it. So let's hope for a win tomorrow, because I think if it's going to be a slug and a 0-0 draw, I don't think the fans that are going are going to really appreciate that. So hopefully we do something.
No, you're probably right. Just on their defensive record, they've conceded 50 goals this season. The only teams to concede more are Blackpool have conceded 51 and Wigan have conceded 52.
Wow, so that's interesting.
Again,
not. It seems to be that they ship a lot in one game. They seem to either, if they concede 2, then they're conceding 5. It seems so. We'll have to see. It seems like their heads drop quite quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't mean a lot. They conceded 3 to Stoke in midweek, 3 to Sheffield United a few weeks ago, 4 to Birmingham a few weeks ago, 3 to Coventry.
I mean, the incredible thing about that Stoke result is that Stoke actually managed to hit target 3 times in one game. I mean, crikey!
Yeah,
how many people did they take out in stands as well? They must have stretches in stands from 3 times.
Yeah. As John Morell mentioned, they got Perot, and I can't remember his first name now. Let me get it up. Joe Perot, who I think last season scored a bucket load of goals. This season he's on 12, so for where they are in the league, that's a pretty good return, to be fair. 12 this season and 33 in total, so 21 last season. So they have got threats. These aren't this is not a League One team. This is a Championship team. They have got threats. We shouldn't be going into this game sort of thinking, it's going to be fine. Everybody else lost yesterday, Mick. And Swansea are in a poor bit of form. We should be winning this game. It's not really like that. No. We could win the game, and we have a good opportunity to win the game. But there's no shoulds about this for me in terms of winning it.
No. Look, they're a quality side. They've got quality players in their side. Whether their tactics are sufficiently good enough to get them into top half of the table, it would appear not at the moment. But it's an opportunity for us. We play better against sides that like to play possession football. Or we fare better against them. So we have done so far this season. So we've we have a decent chance of getting something out of the game, especially given the run that they're on as well. But like we said earlier on in podcast, it'd be so Rotherham United to have an opportunity open up in front of you and throw it away. It'd be great if we could get something from it, and there is a very good opportunity to do that as well, given everything we've just said about them.
Yeah. John Morrell says Matt Grimes, also midfielder, must admit is one of his favourite players in the league. Oozes class, he is an excellent player.
He's quality.
Final Med UK, we could win the game, but it's going to be 11 against 13, so it's going to be tough.
Palad's out there fishing now. He's fishing now.
Very good. Chris, the first goal is so important. Yeah, the stage of the season, Tom, where all the stats come out and the stat rally points out we don't get points when we go behind. But Swansea have shown that they can be very frail when going ahead. So it could. I wonder as a management team, do you think they look at that and go, we need to put this right, or whether it's just trying to concede anyway? You don't want to concede anyway, do you?
Yeah, I think it's more of a case of we'll cross that bridge when we come to it with man, because obviously no, manager wants to concede. But if we go to Burnley and Taylor goes to them, look, you're not conceding today, a lot of them might go, well, Jesus, how is that going to happen? But in terms of that, you might look at the opposition and think, well, look, if we're 1 goal out, if we're 2 goals down, we can always get back into it. And obviously, every team should be thinking we can't be conceding here because you never want to go into a game thinking you can concede. But the first goal is always important in any game. With any stat that goes against us, makes it even more important. But I don't think. Well, I do. But sorry, I was going to say I don't think that them scoring is going to be a big thing, but I think it is because, like I was saying before, if you're chasing a game against that kind of opposition, then it's so tough to get a foot on it, to get momentum building, because they're just going to keep the ball and they're going to frustrate you. They're going to take momentum out of the game. I think I've not seen them much this season other than when we played them. Unfortunately, I have family members that are Swansea fans, so I hear a lot about them. But that just seems to be what they do. They seem to have a lot of technical ability and know-how about keeping the ball, but in terms of, like you said before, penetration and stuff, it's a bit more difficult for them creatively in the final third, which I think we struggle with in a lot of games this season as well, with a similar thing. So like I said before, hopefully it's not a 0-0 bore off, but it should be it should be really, really important, that first goal, because I think if we get it, we're looking like we're in the driver's seat and looking like we're probably not, likely to concede. And likewise with them, if they get the first goal, they'll keep the ball and they'll frustrate us, and it'll be that case as well. I think the first goal might be the goal in this scenario.
John Morrell says when Birmingham equalised against Swansea a few weeks ago, he'd never seen it fall apart like they did at this level. This seems so fragile.
John, I've got a story for you about teams falling apart at this level.
Go on.
Take you back to Derby County winning 3-0 in 84 minutes in New York Stadium.
True. Good point, well made.
We got a goal back, and the 2,500 Derby supporters in the away end collectively, as we scored our consolation goal at 3-1, put their heads in their hands.
Yeah,
it were 3 apiece. They absolutely fell apart. Let's get that happen again on Monday.
Derby fall apart. That's what they do, innit? So there's a song about it.
Rolling Stones, there, the silence of the Rams.
Very good.
Love that one, Cheryl.
Right, let's move on. Surely, actually, no pressure on us. Surely they want to lose to teams like Rotherham. Correct. Very, very correct. Let's have a look at the attacking line, really. Attacking 4, really. Is it going to be an attacking 4 again? Obviously, on Tuesday, we had Chio, Fosu, and Fergie just behind Hugo. Although Rotheham was extremely high up in that line as well. Would you expect something similar, almost a week's rest, so fatigue shouldn't be too much of an issue? Could you see any changes in that front line?
No, I don't. I don't see why you would. It worked after the first 10 or 15 minutes against Sunderland, where we were a little bit shaky and a little bit all over the place, once we hit our straps, they were very, very effective. So no, Tariq Fosu is the key to it, really. I mean, can he put that performance in 2 games on trot? History would suggest, the fact that he's pulling on a Rotherham United shirt on Monday night would suggest that possibly no. You know, maybe he can't do it 2 or 3 games on the trot. Fingers crossed he can, because he will cause lots and lots of problems. Chio is going to have a point to prove, one way or another, because of all the rumours that were that surrounded him and Swansea. And Fergie's just Fergie, isn't he? You know, that goal was going to give him some confidence. He's a confidence player. We know he is. And when he's on it, he's on it. And that position that he's kind of found himself in, sort of left-hand side of a striking 4, who'd have thought that would be that he'd fit in so well to it. So yeah, I mean, I can't see any reason why you would alter that front 4, if you want to call it a front 4. You know, I don't think you would.
Yeah. Shelley FC says Chio had the best game for a while on Tuesday. That's more like it. What we used to see. Can't believe the left back didn't walk though. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be this sort of a callback to when Wilesy was rubbish before the Burnley game, Tom. And the team that tried to sign him in the summer, he turns up and has best game of the season and scores.
Yeah.
Football is a weird and wonderful thing. You could see exactly the same thing with Chio just popping up with a goal.
Yeah.
He scored against them on day 1, didn't he, Chio?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. In his new striker position that he's not gone back to. Yeah, it'd be sod's law that he has his best game for us against them, for one reason or another, or simply because he's just finding confidence again. Like you said, it was a good game on Tuesday from him as well. I think he does a lot of I think he's in his best role as a right wing back, right mid, not higher up the. It's. I've always said this about him, but his final ball isn't. If especially if you compare it to Fergie's or whatever, or Fosu's final product, it's not championship level. But what he does do brilliantly is the defensive side of work and pulling everyone up the pitch just with his quick runs. I think that's, he seems to be at his best when there's a bit more players forward, so it's not always reliant on him and he's not always being doubled up on. Especially when you isolate him one-on-one, he's got the beating of most players with his pace, which he seems to have gotten back. I don't know if that's confidence or whatever, but he seemed to absolutely have the left back circling on strings on Tuesday. And he's not a bad player by any means as well. So, we'll have to see tomorrow, but it's Ryan Manning at left back, isn't it? Former Rotherham, and so that'll be an interesting duel, so to say, between Ogbenny and Manning, not Mane. So yeah, no, it should be Chio's kind of message to any team in the league that this is how I can play, and if Swansea want to sign me, then fine. But if anyone else wants to sign me, then good, and just prove people wrong, prove people, just whatever. This is his chance to prove himself really on Sky. On a Monday night, so there's nothing else going on. No one has an excuse not to watch this game. So we'll see. We'll see. I was optimistic.
Yeah. It's difficult. We've talked about Chio poor form recently, Mick, and he was very, very good. Again, much like the team after the first 10, 15 minutes, he was very, very good. And maybe you can allow that a little bit. You can allow the head to be turned a little bit for a brief time. But if he switched back on, let's have you switch back on all the time. Let's have you back to Chio. You've got your head back in game because you were brilliant on Tuesday. There's no real excuse now to not continue at that same level. There's no more head turning to be done between now and May. We need you back to where you were, please, every week.
Yeah, I wonder how much Chio suffers with his confidence.
Yeah, I think that.
I didn't initially when he first started with us. He didn't appear to be a sort of confidence-based player, but it appears now that maybe he is, and he has been out of touch. Whether that whether the reasons for that are psychological or fitness or a combination of the two, I don't know, or having his head turned, any one of those three, I suppose. But the catalyst for me was him getting fouled.
Yeah,
I mean, that really riled him up, and rightly so. Absolutely rightly so. He I've never had Chio down as a shouting at referee, shouting at linesman type of footballer. He's not that kind of player, so it really must have got to him. And I understand why, because he has been badly treated this season by the officials at times. So let's hope he gets fouled in first minute. I mean, I said this the other day, didn't I? We'll let's if we kick off, let's play that ridiculous, stupid kickoff we've started doing again, knocking it long, and hopefully Chio gets taken out first ball and riles him up, and off he goes. So yeah, he needs to maintain his form. It really does, because he's such a dangerous player. He's so dangerous when he's in full flight. So I agree with Tom. His final ball needs to be better, but at least he's getting in those positions. And he wasn't before. So hopefully he has got a point to prove on Monday night and does it well.
Yeah, Palmer rightly says Chio needs to do well to get the club he wants. Yeah, exactly right. We need to see that. Shelley says he's at his best when he's running at players. Haven't seen anybody fully keep him at bay yet. Yeah, he seems to be more reserved at times this season. Yeah, I think he's trying to be smarter, isn't he? He's trying to use his pace a bit smarter, which is as he should do, really.
He has been playing as a central striker as well.
Yeah,
and he's not done massively well at that because that's not his position. So you don't know whether that's taken a little bit out of him psychologically as well. Maybe thinking, well, I'm not as good as I thought I were. Well, you're not all right, mate. You are.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know.
I think Kately says it probably shouldn't ask this, but is it right we haven't lost on Sky? Yeah, this season, and I can't remember the last time we did lose on Sky. Now I think back, it must have been COVID season. Did we lose on Sky last season in League One? We beat Ipswich on telly. We beat drew Hartlepool on telly in Cup. Beat obviously Sutton. This season we've had Middlesbrough, Stoke, one other, and Sheffield United. But Blackburn and Huddersfield actually.
Yeah.
So we're in 4 Sky games.
Yeah.
Will says we lost on the red button. Does that count? No, that doesn't count, I'm afraid. That's to be full coverage. Like the Stoke game, they had a different game on like main event. We weren't the main event. Like tomorrow, we are the main event in the country. Whereas on that one, it was just.
Look at us.
I don't know if we are a main event, to be honest with you.
Monday Night Football featuring Rotherham United. Who would have thought it, eh?
Nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody.
And there's a reason why nobody would have thought it as well.
Let me have a look. Main event tomorrow. Bear with me. Are we the main event, do we think? Tomorrow. That's Tuesday. Hang on. Sorry, guys. It's not going very well, this. We are the main event.
Oh, yeah.
There you go, everybody. The main event on Sky Sports. So
that's what I mean. Monday night, got nothing else to do. Why not?
Tobias says, will Shane score again? Will Shane Ferguson score again? It was really good when he scored, after he scored, Tom. I don't think it was great first half, but he scored the goal and was really, really good. I just like Shane Ferguson. I like it when he does well. He's one of them people, when I see him do well, it makes me feel a bit better about supporting everybody. It's been really good.
Yeah, no. His quality of delivery and, just technical ability in general. I mean, he's not as physically imposing as maybe Chio in terms of pace and power, but his technical ability is second to none. And that finish against Sunderland literally proved it. He hadn't had the pace to, blitz past their opposition because he had a man behind him, but it was so pinpointing off the post that I honestly, as soon as he was running up and he was shaping to shoot, I thought it's a goal, because that goal for Northern Ireland he scored, or is it?
Yeah,
it was a couple of years of Chio. It's just that's what he's got in his locker. And I think if he gets in those positions more, he should genuinely score more than he does. But obviously, he's been playing as a wing back for us, and you don't really get into those shooting positions. But since moving to left wing or even right wing, he's gotten more into shooting. His movement is good, and he's getting himself into scoring chances. And I back his technical ability to finish him off. Maybe he's not as influential in a game as maybe Chio at bombing down the pitch, committing 7 players and committing 7 fouls as well. But what he does do is the good graft on that left hand side, and he's got a wicked delivery both from set pieces, corners, and he's a valuable asset to this Rotherham team. And at the start of the season, I don't think a lot of people would have said that, particularly still playing with that wing back formation. But as a left winger, you can't fault him in really any way. Maybe if he was a bit quicker, but if he was a bit quicker, I don't think he'd be at us. So
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Neil Lewis says we're only English team playing tomorrow. John Morello says,
yeah,
sorry,
more points.
Exactly. But John Morello says he's going to wash his hair instead.
There's no need for that, John. No need for that at all. I'm going to wash mine, but mine will be ready before match kicks off. Don't worry.
Defensively, Mick, there's a possibility Peltier might not be available. I came up with, I think, a sore hamstring. Again, they were waiting to see how he reacts to a little bit of training. So are you happy for Wes just to slot in there, or are you still worried about Wes's form because it's been poor for recent months?
I am worried about Wes's form. Yeah, I am, and I don't understand. For me, if Peltz is not available, I will bring Peter Kioso back in a heartbeat and put him there in an absolute heartbeat. And then keep Wes on the bench and keep bringing Wes on just to try and build his confidence a little bit, giving him 15-minute bursts here and there until he can get back into some sort of form. But Kioso would step, for me, slot straight in and cover for Peltier if he's injured, if he's or not available. But I don't know. He's another one with Woody and up until last week, Lindsay, who kind of gone AWOL a little bit. So we'll have to see. I'd not heard that about Lee Peltier, so I wasn't aware that he was injured, although I accept he came off the other night. But
I think it's one of those, he probably will be fine, probably.
Yeah.
But he was saying, weren't he, that there's some players that are not training, they're just playing the game time and that's it, which is obviously not ideal, but it doesn't really matter, does it, Tom? As long as they play well when they play, I suppose it doesn't really matter. Taking information, that kind of thing, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're playing Saturday and Tuesday and you've just had a Saturday and Tuesday, you can't. If Taylor doesn't see them fit to train, but wants them in the game, then that's all that they can do. And obviously, it's not best for match fitness, but I think someone like Lee Peltier doesn't really require match fitness as much as some other players might do. I mean, he's so physically imposing and he does the basics so well. I think he'd be a huge loss if he didn't play tomorrow, by the way. But I think players like him, maybe even Ferguson, possibly. Who's the other injury? It wasn't Ferguson. It was Rathbone, wasn't it?
Rathbone, yeah.
But again, same with him. He seems to be such on great form at the minute that every time he goes onto a football pitch, you're going to get a performance out of him. Whether or not he plays well on the ball is a different matter, but definitely the hard graft, he's going to do that superbly every game he plays. So players like them too, you don't really need as much match fitness. Obviously, it's not ideal not getting training and whatnot, but if Peltier doesn't play, I think Kioso needs. If Kioso doesn't get a look in, then I don't know how Taylor sees him. He'd probably be sold in the summer, because if he doesn't play when your starting right back is injured, and he's arguably, I'd personally love to see him start every game as well. But based on Peltier's form, you can't really have that. I don't see where Kioso lies in this team. If that's the case, I love him, but Taylor clearly doesn't see a player there. I wish I knew. I really did. But even not making the bench is a mystery, because, like you said, with nothing bad on Harding, but his form these last couple of months hasn't been great. Every time he's come onto the pitch, it's been a bit of a oof moment where you think, gee, anything could happen down that left side. Their left side, all right. So, and Kiosa was arguably the best player at Bramall Lane before he got injured. Same with Luton. Next game, he was fantastic. So, how he won't get a game for a relegation battling team. Is he a League One player? I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, I can't see why he wouldn't play. If Peltier's injured, which I don't think is the case, it seems, because he's had a week-ish off. So we'll have to see on that.
Yeah. Sean Green says he didn't Peltier out of contract in the summer. Yeah, it was only a 12-month contract, which you probably expect with a guy of his age. So there you go. Phil Oxley says we need to focus on the midfield area as we are hit and miss very lately. Very rare we dominate in that position. We need to, especially against Swans. Yeah, I mean, we ain't got the players to dominate midfield. The only thing you can do is dominate physically, Mick. We're not going to dominate Matt Grimes as an example, technically, because he's just too good, realistically. You need to find different ways of dominating possession. We're not going to have much at ball tomorrow. You know, if we end up with more than 35% of possession, that might be a little bit of a surprise. And Sky will let us know that as well. We've got to find different ways of winning games, and there are 5 million different ways of winning football, given there.
Yeah, of course there are. Absolutely. And we're not going to win the possession stats. You can put your money on that right now, because that's not going to happen. And you're not going to dominate the midfield against a team like Swansea because of the way that they play possession football. That's not how we're going to be able. You know, there's no point approaching the game that way, is there? You know, it's just to put them under pressure, because much as they are a possession-based team, they're clearly not good enough to make it work. Because if they were, they'd be up at the top of the division. They're another one of these teams that falls into the category of, you know, we want to play. Let me rephrase that, because you know, as a club, that's not what they are. It's the way that their manager is making them play or wants them to play, but they are not good enough to do it effectively. And there are many teams within this division and the divisions below who think they are good enough to play possession-based football, and they all come unstuck, all of them, because unless you're Man City and spending however many hundreds of millions of pounds on players, it doesn't work as a standard way of playing. It just doesn't, because you don't have the players to do it. So you've got to be adaptable, and clearly Swansea aren't. But in terms of the midfield, you know, dominating it is not the way we're going to win this game. Well, the way we're going to win this game is to put them under pressure and make them make mistakes, because they will make mistakes in possession, whether it be in midfield or the front four or the back four. It's just get them to make mistakes, because they'll make bags of them.
John Morell with inside info again. They couldn't deal with Jukovic, so get that big lump Hugel on, pump it up to him, and get runners off him. We can do that. I got a feeling this is Hugel's game tomorrow. He's going to score against Swansea. Just got a feeling he's going to get off the mark.
Big lump. He's not a big lump, is he?
He is.
I suppose he is a bit like Jukovic, isn't he? He is that kind of player, I suppose. So.
Yeah. Mike the Miller has given us your television options for Monday night. You can have Crisis Pregnancy, whatever that is, on BBC One, University Challenge on BBC Two, Corrie on ITV, George Clark on Channel 4, Traffic Cops on Channel 5, the F1 show on Sky 1, or Rotherham United against Swansea. Take your pick.
That F1 show might be all right, unless they're talking to Christian Horner. Then I might watch that.
Skip both.
Yeah, you should record that and then skip through all the Red Bull bits, Mick. They'll be happy. Right, let's predictions. Tom, what do you reckon? Start with you, mate.
1-0 Rotherham.
Ooh, like
Go
it.
easy. Yeah.
Clean sheet. Like it.
Yes.
I knew you. I should have thought about this, because I knew you were going to ask.
I knew you were coming to me. Yeah, we do this every show.
Oh yeah. I'm going to go with Tom. I'm going to say we're going to sneak a 1-0.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But the reality is, I know that we're going to lose 1-0.
Brilliant. I'm going to go 2-1.
Same as Tuesday.
To us, apologies.
All right.
Yeah.
John Morell sums it up quite nicely. John Morell says 1-1, as it could be literally anything. Yes, it could.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could. Shell Stone, before we go look at everybody else's predictions, did we listen to the Hugel on the Talk Norwich City podcast since he left? It was interesting. Yes, I did. Mick, have you listened to that yet?
No, because you told me to, so I am.
Tom, did you listen to it or watch it?
I have not. No, I've not. I will find the time though if it's worth watching or listening to.
It is really good. It is really, really good.
It just comes across very well. I've heard that he just comes across like a really sound, down to earth.
Just a lad. He just.
Like,
if I was the person to put that, I feel like I would be. You know, if you were just talking to a random person, you know, you get sort of media people. He isn't a media person. He just talks like a normal person would, like we talk. It's professionally honest.
Yeah.
And he digs at Dean Smith, and I don't like Dean Smith, so that makes me happy.
You've got a thing about Dean Smith. You're not a big fan of him at all, are you?
I just don't get it. He's not good. He was rubbish at Villa. He got promoted because of Jack Grealish. If there's no Jack Grealish, he didn't get that. He wouldn't have got promoted.
Tammy Abraham as well.
Tammy Abraham, yeah. And then he went to Norwich, and I know they were, you know, they were going to go down anyway, but they put up the most weakling little fighter you've ever seen from a Premier League team.
And speaking of managers you don't like, Carl Robinson's out of work today. I know.
Can't believe it.
Yeah. I feel sorry for him now.
If they do a Moment of Truth podcast at end of the season, that might be worth listening to again. Yeah, following both managers' journey throughout the season. Let's wait and see on that one. Predictions: J-Boy says 0-0. John S says 2-1 to the Millers. Yosta says 2-2. Mike the Miller and Kim Hayward say 1-1 as 1-1. Both say 1-1. Sorry. Chris Taylor says 2-1 to the Millers. Dean Catley says 2-1. First win from coming behind. Now that is ambitious. That Dean.
Wow.
Sean Green says 1-1. Palmed 2-1. Michael Conn also goes 1-1. Steve Gundy 2-1 to the Millers. And Shelley says 1-0. Geordie off the bench with a 90th minute winner. Yeah. Well, I understand. John Morell says don't listen to the Talk Norwich City. Those two make him want to throw his phone out of the window.
Okay. But yet you listen to us, John.
True. Very true. I think we're done. Is there anything else we need to mention that we haven't already?
Well, yeah, that last comment, Gareth Ainsworth. Comment on that.
Gareth Ainsworth coming to New York Stadium on Saturday.
Yeah.
Football terrorist.
I thought that was such a weird appointment, but hey ho.
I don't see how it works, to be honest with you. QPR are known for they're not known necessarily because they've got promoted under Neil Warnock. So we're not sitting here saying they're obviously, you know, a sexy football team. But I can't see him putting up with that. And I can't see him putting up with it while he builds it up. Because it's going to take time. And I can't see him being happy with the time it's going to take, to be honest with you. Funny.
Who knows?
Could be good news for us next week, couldn't it? It could be great news for us next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Players don't take to it. There's a bit of unrest. It might work out a dream.
Yeah.
Like the Miller says, Ainsworth, and you moan about the refs.
Listen, Mike, you've heard me moan about referees. Wait while we get on to Ainsworth. That is another level. That is another level altogether.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can I just bearing in mind some of the comments this evening about my hair, I'd just like to welcome John to the relegation party as well. It's very kind of you, John, to join us down here in this this hellhole that is the bottom of the league.
John Morell says he lost interest in the podcast when Ben left to try and become a professional handball player. Right, let's end it there because we've got an hour out of talking about nothing, to be honest with you. So that's great news. Please do go over and subscribe. If you haven't already, we're on 915. I want to try and get 1,000 by the end of the season. We will hopefully get there shortly. If you please do subscribe. If you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, or you want to listen to iTunes, Spotify, search New York Talk, and you'll find us there and subscribe and there. Give us a 5-star rating, which it should let you do on iTunes and Spotify as well. follow us on Twitter, IFC_pod, and on Facebook. We will be back on Thursday evening for the live show through YouTube, Friday morning for the audio podcast, where we will review the blockbuster game from Monday night and preview QPR coming to town on Saturday. It's a big week. It's a big couple of weeks for Rotherham United. It could be a massive few weeks. It could just be more of the same as Rotherham United provide us throughout our entire lives. So thank you as we go on this stupid journey together. Tom, it's been a pleasure to have you with us, mate. Thank you for being with us again.
Yeah, it's been great coming back on. Thank you guys for having me.
Top man. And Rick, a bit of a ref rant. Hopefully, we don't need a ref rant in 3 days' time. That'd be beautiful if we didn't have to do another ref rant, wouldn't it?
Listen, how sweet would it be on Thursday evening to be able to start the podcast saying, hey, that Gavin Ward had a right game.
Yeah. Gave us 3 penalties, sent 2 of their players off. It's not going to happen. Anyway, thank you, everybody, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you very much for being with us.
Cheers.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! Mule with it, Wood's got round the back, and Richie Wood has done it again! The magic man has come up with another trick! Well, here's a chance to seal it!